I am in Zihuatanejo, Mexico. My husband and I got engaged here 20 years ago. So we have a home here and we live here several months of the year. And we do that because we have a team managed company that is able to run without us. And since moving here, the company's actually grown so much faster because I'm out of everybody's way and they're able to use their brilliance. So we'll talk about how to do that today. So let me share my slides. Okay. All right, so let's get started. We're going to talk about the 5 phases to hyperscale your company. How is it that Susie Batiz, who's the founder of Poopery, how was she able to scale her company to over 500 million in revenue yearly? By the way, no investors. How was she able to do that after 2 bankruptcies that she had experienced? And how was Anne Malum, the founder of Solid Core, how was she able to take 1 location to 120 locations and sell it for over 200 million in revenue? And Ellen Latham, the founder of Orange Theory, how was she able to go from 1 location generating under $50,000 a year to over 2,000 locations generating over $1 billion a year with 0 experience? And Spencer Raskoff, how was he able to take the company Zillow from a small website advertising some homes to a massive enterprise generating over $3 billion a year? Well, what they have in common is that they've all expanded to a scalable model. Now, the word scale is often overused. You hear it a lot as a buzzword, but it's usually misused or misunderstood. People equate scaling just with fast growth, but scaling is actually strategy. It's replication and multiplication. It's taking your model, the way that your product, your service, and it is expanding it into a model that it can replicate your offering so that it can multiply well beyond you. And if you are involved in any part of the delivery of your product or service, this is not replicatable, so it's not scalable. So everything that I'm sharing with you today is from our proprietary method, the Scale It method. And it is the only method, it's patent pending, that addresses the entire business as it pertains to scaling. So not just operations or marketing or sales. It's all aspects of the company, including you as a leader. So I'm going to be going through some of the tenets of this method today. Now, Damon John is a big fan of the Scale It method and my book, Scale or Fail, because he understands the importance of having a system behind what you do. Now, in the early days, you know, when you were just building your company, you were kind of, my guess is, throwing things at the wall and seeing if it worked, you know, kind of flying by the seat of your pants. But as you scale beyond 7 figures and even into 8 figures and beyond, you really have to have a system behind what you do. Otherwise, you're going to have a bunch of things slipping through the cracks, losing a lot of money, a lot of redundancy within the company, and it just makes life a lot harder.
Allison?
Yes.
Hi, this is Linda. Just real quick, something is glitching with your slides.
Okay.
And they keep jumping back to your main slide, to your first slide.
Huh. I wonder if, here, let me just try. I'll just exit out and then go back in.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's just do this. Obviously, it's not as pretty, but I want you guys to be able to see. Is this all right?
This looks good. Does that look good for you, everyone else?
Yeah.
Yep, get a thumbs
Sorry
up.
about that. I have no idea what at what's happening with the tech gods today, but
Technology.
all right, so let's just keep moving on.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is an example of a scalable model. Pinnacle Global Network is my 10th company. We've been running for 16 years, and we mentor CEOs to scale their company all over the world. We've helped over 150,000 CEOs scale their businesses. And when I started this company, it was me and a few people, but obviously I can only help so many people. So over the 16 years, we have built a team of 40 mentors who've all built very successful companies. Some of them have had thousands of employees, taken their company public, scaled international companies, lots of acquisitions and mergers and so forth. And this is how I can sleep at night, because I know that our clients are well taken care of. But the thing is, and this is a great model if you have a service business, but you want to have a signature process that your team uses so that you know that even if they're brilliant, you don't want them going rogue and just doing whatever they do. You want to have something that can be measured, and you want to make sure that your customers are all getting a similar experience. And so all of our mentors use our Scale It method and combine that with the brilliance and the wisdom and the experience that they have. So if you have a service business, we call this replicating your talent with the team and then taking you out of the equation. Now, why is this important? Well, the reason that this is so important is that, you know, you get out of the gate, you're doing pretty well in your business, but there is a point that most businesses hit a wall of growth and they cannot get beyond it. And you think, well, I'll just put in more hours, I will focus more, but you're already working 24/7. And you are, you know, as far as focusing more, a lot of you are ADD, I would imagine, being creative entrepreneurs like me. And so if that is your strategy, you might be putting a dent in the wall, but you're not getting the big leaps that need to happen. And the reason is that there's a certain point in your business trajectory that you have to restructure your company to make room for the growth. It's not about the hustle. It truly is about creative strategy, working harder, working smarter, not harder. But most businesses, if I were to drive down the street here or down where we live in San Diego, and I would go into the fitness company or the accounting firm or the recruiting company, you would generally see the CEO, the business owner, buried in the weeds of the company. And what ultimately this creates is that you are the bottleneck, but it also creates health issues, relationship issues, and this impacts millions of business owners, sacrificing so much for your company. And you think that this is the way that it has to be, but it actually is tremendously slowing the growth of your company and making life a lot harder for you. So I want to take you through the 5 pillars of the Scale It method. And I want you to think about your own business as I take you through these, because when we examine companies, we generally find 2 or 3 of these pillars are doing all right, but sometimes, you know, 1 or 2 are pretty wonky or even non-existent. And they need to be strong. If you think of a pillar, it's something that holds something that's heavy. And if you don't have all of these pillars fortified and a difficult economy comes by or a pandemic, you know, then you're in trouble. So strategic vision is the most important pillar. And this is really where you as the CEO of your company need to live. And it's not just figuring out what your vision is in January, checking in June, and seeing where you land in December. It really is living in vision. That is your role, focused on where we're going. And you are kind of the lighthouse for that vision, and ultimately your team taking that and running with it. Cash flow is the oxygen of your business, of course, and it's driven by marketing, sales, and the organization of your finances. It needs to be coming in on a regular basis. Alliance of the team is really all about the word alliance. It is a team that is aligned behind your vision. And a team that is not aligned behind your vision is a team that is in chaos. And leadership is all about you. It's how you show up. It's how you communicate on the good days, but also on the challenging days, because everyone is looking to you. And it's also your own mindset. It's how you think. It's how you think about money. And you could be doing great, but get to a certain point, 20 million, 30 million, and then that old money mindset can creep in from whatever your beliefs were about money, even in your childhood, and that can sabotage the business. So the leadership aspect is super important, and execution is how everything rolls out. It's your KPIs, your accountability, and ideally, your execution should line up with your strategic vision as it rolls out, or even exceeds that. So now I want to take you through the 5 phases of scaling, but I want you to think about these pillars in each of these phases, especially in the one that you're in. And because these pillars are going to change over time. Your vision changes, your cash flow needs change, your team changes, and you as a leader need to grow consistently. So let's say you want to increase revenue by 40% in this next year. You personally need to grow by 60% to be able to carry that 40%. So the 5 phases of scaling, the reason that this is so important is that most business owners have no idea where they are in the scaling process. And awareness is power. And so once you have that clarity, then we can figure out, okay, what are the gaps that are keeping you from getting to that next level? So what I'd love for you all to do is to put into the chat what phase you feel your business is in once I go through this. And I will stop sharing my slides afterwards, and then we will take your questions. Okay, so phase 1 is the seeker. And you all are all past phase 1, but this is the startup phase. It's super important, obviously. It's where your creative juices are flying. You're very passionate about this new thing that you're putting out in the world, but there's no scaling happening here because everything's dependent on you or you and a partner. Then we move into phase 2. Now, at phase 2, you're about 500K in revenue. And you're in the thick of your business, you're getting your hands dirty, you're out in the plains, you are, now you have a few employees, and which is great. You're starting to delegate, you're getting more clear on your products and services, you are optimizing your customer journey, you're getting more clarity on your avatar. But one of the challenges that keeps business owners in phase 2 is that even though you have these employees, you still feel the need to approve everything going in and out of your company. And you think this is helping, but truly it is choking the growth of your business. And so a nice way of saying it is that you are the bottleneck of the company. The reality is that you are the control freak of the business. And so I don't know if any of you all can identify in being the bottleneck or the control freak of your business, but I have absolutely been there before. Now, then we move into phase 3. which I call the ringleader. Now you're going to get into phase 3 as you start to build out your team. And at this point, you're beyond the 7 figures, even into the 8 and sometimes 9 figures. You can be in the ringleader phase. And this is where you have teams of teams. You could have an admin team or a marketing team, a sales team, a finance team, maybe even a legal team. And now you've got more people. And sometimes teams can be like families, and sometimes families don't get along. I don't know if you all have ever experienced that before. But one of the biggest mistakes that happens in phase 3, and we call it the ringleader because it is a bit of a circus, is that most companies hire people before you're super clear on what success looks like for the role. And so even before you post that ad, you need to know what are the metrics of success. If this employee hits the mark and they are successful just out of the gate, what do those numbers look like? How can you measure? And do they know these metrics as well? Okay, because every single employee should be driving in 3 to 10 times what you pay them to your bottom line. And I'll explain that to you in just a little bit. But what happens is that because oftentimes you don't have complete clarity on what success looks like for the role, and your employee doesn't have complete clarity, then you have mismatched expectations. And this is where frustration ensues because you are, annoyed that things are not happening like you had intended. And then they want to be successful, but they're not really sure. Again, having the clarity around that, then you find that things are, again, slipping through the cracks. And then you feel that you've got to jump back in, be the hero, and save the day. And this is where that hamster wheel ensues. That oftentimes keeps CEOs, business owners on there for years, decades. And that's why this is so important to understand that. And so, you know that you are smack dab in phase 3. If you find yourself up at night talking to your significant other or your mother about XYZ employee over and over and over again because you're so frustrated. So it's not only costing you the salary, missed opportunities, but it is sucking the life out of you. And I don't know if any of you have ever had that experience, but that is a real clue that you are in the ringleader phase. And so these are some of the things that happen. You end up having people in the wrong roles. You're micromanaging. Nobody likes to be micromanaged. I don't know about you, but I don't like to be told what to do. And then your team is confused. They're not aligned behind the vision. And this is where the burnout starts to happen, right? And so this is where Fran Bishop was when she came to us. Fran had been running her company for 20 years. She had a multiple 7-figure company. By all intents and purposes, her company was successful, but she was so burned out. And even with her big corporate clients, she was often having to be pulled in. And so what we did was our intention was to pull Fran out of the day-to-day, help her build out her leadership team, and replace herself in her business. And when she did that, now her team is leading 9-figure deals without her involved at all, which literally changed her life. So what needs to happen? What needs to happen is that the first thing that happens to move you from phase 3 to phase 4, where life gets a lot easier, is that you've got to shift from being a boss to being a leader. Now, like I said, nobody likes to be told what to do. And if you have kids or nieces or nephews, you know that if you're constantly telling them what to do, they just are going to rebel, or their brain shuts down and they're not really thinking for themselves. But if you empower them into action and they're passionate about it and they own it, then it's a very different outcome. You know, I had this experience. I was in the car with my husband and we were driving somewhere, and it was somewhere that we had gone many times, but he likes to play this game where he likes to take different back roads to get there to see, you know, which one is faster. And so I'm not paying attention. I'm on my phone and he looks at me and says, "You have no idea where we are, do you?" And I'm thinking, no, but you're going to get us there anyway. Why does it matter? And in that moment, I had this aha, that is exactly what happens with our employees, because they're so used to us giving them the answers for everything. There's a part of their brain, not intentionally, but it shuts off because they know that you're going to fix it. But when you stop giving the answers and you approach it differently, and every single time they approach you, the intention needs to be that they never ask you this question again. So what needs to happen for that to happen? Well, instead of giving them the answers, and I know it's hard sometimes because it's just, you're on autopilot and you're just so used to doing it, but try not giving them the answer and saying something like, well, what would you do in this situation? How would you handle it? What do you recommend? Or why don't you put a plan together and present it to the team? Okay. And so what happens then over time is the team starts to own it and they start to step up, and you begin to see these rising stars within your company, and they're owning it. And there is a momentum that starts to build. Okay, because they start to have more confidence within themselves. Now, this is where Constance Wanamaker was when she came to us. And I'm sharing with you some of these stories just to illustrate what I'm talking about. So Constance runs a law firm, and she was doing about 2.5 million when she came to us. And she had 30 employees. She was working 17 hours a day. And she said she felt like she was running in circles. And so we helped her to replace herself in every facet of the business. And that meant even letting go of her law clients and having the team handle those. And so just over 3 years, she went from 30 employees to over 300 employees. In this last year, she did 50 million in revenue. Because she's not in the day-to-day, she was able to acquire some other law firms, even build a marketing company for other law firms. So she's focused on the future of the company, not the today of the company. And she's set to do well over 100 million this year. And she was just named the #1 law firm on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies. She now travels. She gets time with her family that she hadn't experienced in years. And so what is the shift that has to happen to move into phase 4? Well, like I said, you need to slowly start to step back. But if you're empowering your team to own it, at this point, your vision and your values are so entrenched in the company, it's like you're there even if you're not there anymore. Because your team will start to come to you and say things like, Rachel, I was up all night and I came up with the best idea to increase profits. Or Kimball, I have a great idea to increase our retention with this new customer journey, right? They will be empowered and inspired to treat the company like it's their own. And then you can slowly start to step back. Now, some of you may be thinking that sounds great, Allison. We're just not in the cash space right now to build out the team more. And like I said, every single team member should be bringing in 3 to 10 times what you pay them. And if you're measuring that and you know those metrics before you even hire, now you still can go back to your team and do this. But let me give you some examples. And I'm not just talking about sales, but let's say you have someone great in customer service. And they're so good that they drive up retention by 15%, which goes directly to your bottom line. Or a COO or an executive assistant that they take off 20 hours off your plate. So now you're able to go out and get that strategic partner or focus on that acquisition. All right. But all of these things need to be measured. Or let's say someone in accounting, they've created such a great budget and they've held everyone to the line on that budget that it saves you $300,000 in the year. So in thinking this way, by not bringing these people on, if they are the right fit, and remember, hire slowly, fire fast. We all know that tenet. Most people do the opposite. But if you're really on top of that, then every team member will fuel the growth of your company more than pay for themselves, right? And so let's say you have a whole area that you want to grow within your company. We call that hiring forward, is actually hiring someone specifically to grow that specific area of the business. And probably one of the most important things I'm going to share with you today is what's on this slide. And this is the shift that we need to make. You see, we're creatures of habit. As human beings, we do what we do and we do what we know. But the way you operate now in your business where you all are needs to be completely different from what you've done before. What got you here will not get you there. And that is for every single aspect of the company. Even some of the team members, they may have gotten you here, but they're not going to get you there in some cases. And that's tough. These are tough decisions that we need to make, especially as women, because we love everybody. We want to take care. We see the potential of everybody, right? But if you're depending on what your big vision is for your company, having those people on the team that have the capability to take you to the next level is critical. And then your role becomes focusing on the future. And your team's role is to focus on today. And that's what I do when I'm here in Zihuatanejo. I am able to clear my head. I don't have all of the, to-do lists and all those things that are going on. So I have gotten the best ideas for our company, being here. So then this takes us to phase 5, and this is where you want to go. Your intention is to get to phase 5 because now you have choices. You have a completely founder independent team managed company, and you could bring on a CEO to scale it faster, move to chairman of the board. You can stay on, add other scalable revenue streams. You can pass it down to your kids, but your valuation is going to be much higher at this point with the company that is not dependent on you. Only 17% of companies are saleable, and oftentimes not even for near the value that they could be sold, right? So thinking about it that way, you put decades into your business working so many hours. If it's not saleable for a good amount, basically you've been working for $5 an hour when you look at it that way for everything that you've put into the company. So it really is so important. Now, Marshall Doyle, when he came to us, he had 35 employees. He was at about 3.5 million in revenue. CalCert is a machine calibration company, and he had not taken a vacation in 20 years. And I don't know how his wife would have hung in there for that long of not even taking a vacation. But I said to Marshall, he came to our event, and I said to him, Marshall, we're going to extricate you from the company. He had his hands in every area of the business, and he laughed at me. He was like, ah, ha, 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 yeah, sure. But okay, let's, show me, sort of thing. It was kind of a dare. Well, his life completely changed. We, again, got him out of the day-to-day of the business where he was just attending one meeting a week, built out his leadership team, completely gave his office away at his company. And he was able to acquire 35 other companies that did not depend on him. And he has been able to sell his company for over 200 million in revenue. He still owns a lot of shares of the company as well. And now he travels around in an RV with his wife. And he's also one of the mentors on our team and helps a lot of our clients with acquisitions. And so, again, he was stuck like that for over 20 years. And I'll just tell you that it's a lot harder. We feel like it has to be this way, but it's actually we make it so much harder than it needs to be. But when you make this shift, you start to build out this team managed company, your life is going to change dramatically, and it happens fairly quickly. Now, the reason that I am so passionate about this is that I lived it, and not understanding how to scale almost took my life. And so I've been on this mission for quite some time, because once I figured this out, it truly was a game changer for me. And I'm able to now really live my best life. Now, I started my first business. I was 19 years old in San Diego. And I built out a full service, started out as doing greeting cards into a full service advertising and PR firm. And we had, these were some of our clients, many of them had over a couple thousand employees. And we were helping them scale through marketing, through advertising. And our clients were doing great. We were making a lot of money. I was traveling all over the place. But again, I didn't know how to scale. And I was that control freak. And so I thought I had to have my eyes on everything. And I would be up till 2 or 3 in the morning creating ad campaigns. My daughter was under 2 years old at the time, and I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And I started to get really depressed. I was suffocating from my business. This is how I felt. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this before, but where you just feel like the world is caving in on you and you've got to carry everything, and you're the rainmaker, the everything maker. And so I just thought, something must be very wrong with me, because I've got this successful business, I'm making money. Why am I not happy and grateful? What's my problem? Why is it that everyone else can figure it out, but not me? This is how I felt at the time. And I didn't know anything different. And so I started to get panic attacks on Sunday, just thinking about the pressures of Monday. And, but I felt stuck, and I was afraid because I had people depending on me, and I just didn't know what to do. And so what ended up happening is I think the universe just got tired of me seeing me stuck like this. And so I ended up having this terrible car accident that, from the stress and the exhaustion, that nearly took my life. And while I was in the hospital and finally realizing I was going to make it, this powerful question, I will never forget it, like it's today, popped into my head. And that was, do you want to be in the same place you are a year from now or 10 years from now? And life goes like that. And that scared the heck out of me. So I knew things had to massively change. What I ended up doing back then, I might have done a little bit differently today, but I walked away from this successful business because I knew I needed to figure it out. And I took the time to start studying my clients that had these thousands of employees, how was it that you never saw the CEO standing in the middle and being this orchestra leader, telling everybody what to do? They were mostly not there. They were out building these great relationships and alignments with the company to help take it to the next level. And so this became the beginning of the Scale It method that we work with CEOs all over the world to help them scale. I went on to build 9 more companies that have not depended on me, really just following the tenets of this model. And if any of you have ever felt that way, I can't see the chat right now, but maybe you could put that in there, or you know what I'm talking about. You don't need to have a car accident to have that wake-up call. But I'm telling you, or I'm just offering you the idea that what if I had a company that didn't depend on me? And how would that change the trajectory of your life? Now, this is the team managed portion of scaling. But now I want to take you through the revenue portion and the scalable models, because it's really the marriage of the two is where the magic happens. So there are 15 scalable models that the most successful brands use. And you can take a picture of this if you want to. And so I'm going to take you through some of these. So the first one, replicate your talent with a team. These are, again, our amazing mentors that work with our clients. And so if you have a service business, then this is a fantastic model for you. Now, upsells and cross-sells can really drive revenue to your bottom line. And so, you know, your customers are going to spend 5 times what a new customer will spend, because they love you. They already have this relationship with you. And so what is it possibly that your customers could use before they work with you, during the time they work with you, or after they work with you? What else could you offer them? Now, this is an aquarium because I wanted to illustrate one of our mentors, Louis Ortiz. He built an international manufacturing company for aquariums, high-end aquariums for restaurants and resorts. And what he realized is that a lot of his customers started hiring companies to come out and clean these aquariums. And he saw, oh my gosh, I am missing out on a lot of revenue here. So he started another company, which was an aquarium cleaning company, which became a subscription, which created MRR, which we call monthly recurring revenue. And so this ended up making a lot more money than his aquarium company was able to sell the company for $40 million in revenue. So monthly subscriptions or memberships can increase your valuation by 3 to 10 or even more times. And sometimes we feel like that would only work for certain types of businesses or product businesses, but that's not true. You know, look at LegalZoom. This is a service company. It's basically a subscription model. You can create a subscription for just about any type of company. Now, all of these revenue streams, this is what we do. This is what we help our clients do. Kara Golden is the founder of Hint Water. And I'm sharing this with you, her story, because if you're thinking that, well, this is not the way it works in my industry, nobody had ever done a subscription model in the beverage industry ever until Kara did with Hint. Everyone was telling her it wouldn't work. She had a lot of connections at Pepsi and Coke and all that. Doesn't work, they said. Well, she said, I want to go directly to my customer. And so that's what she did. It's driven hundreds of millions in revenue to Hint. Now, H&R Block is a perfect example of scaling They have so many scalable models. Now, you only need one scalable model to create a billion-dollar company. If you look at like Orange Theory, master franchising. But I wanted to give you an example of a company that does it many ways, from free to high touch point, to do it yourself or will do it for you, brick and mortar to online to certification, all within one offering. We do your taxes. Okay. So right now with AI and so much disruption happening, the world is changing so quickly that we have to be willing to reinvent ourselves consistently. You have to remain agile, right? And so be thinking about what are some of these that you could also add to your business. Certification program. If you are an expert, obviously within your industry, you can actually create a certification around what you do or even aspects of what you do, train others. Then you have a pool of potential employees because you train them, and it also positions you as the expert in your field. Now you can add a product to your service or a service to your product. Dry Bar, the reason they were able to sell their company for over 200 million was the product side of the business to Helen of Troy, was when they added their own signature products. Buying licensing, selling licensing, all these are great scalable models. Franchising, acquisition can drive up your profits considerably. And you're leveraging a company's years and years of building their customer base, their team, and so on. Now, obviously, there's important factors, to make sure a company is one that you want to acquire. Creating your own technology. Again, any of these can help your company scale. It doesn't matter whether you have a product or you have a service, or you are online, offline, consulting, manufacturing, you can scale your business. And when you do, these three things happen. Number one, you get your life back. You no longer have to wake up and you're off to the races and constantly thinking of what's next or what you've got to do, or waking up in the middle of the night wondering if that campaign is going to work, or if this employee is going to leave, or if the sale is going to go through, and so on. And when you scale, this is where you start to see that multiplier effect within your company. Now, what I would love for you all to do is just think about for a second, if you want to write this down, how much revenue, obviously bottom line is important, but just for the sake of time, how much revenue do you want your company to generate within the next year based on your vision? Just think about that for a second. You don't have to share it if you don't want to. Now, what if your yearly revenue goal became your monthly goal? Now, I know that seems far-fetched, and some of you might be thinking, oh, Allison, you're ridiculous. But if you think about it, you're probably already generating monthly what you did in the early days yearly. It's just a number. It really is just a number. And what I have found over the years is that most business owners think way too small. They really do. And you all, there's no reason that you can't hit any number that you aspire to. You have the power to create whatever you decide, no matter what's going on in the economy, no matter what is going on in the world. And I know there's lots of things that are happening out there right now, and it's very easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of fear. And I totally understand that. But the thing is that there are many, many, many companies through recessions, pandemics, right? We've all been through that actually they become their best years. It really is about leaning in and focusing on where the opportunities are, because they are always, always there. But it's important to understand that it is lonely at the top. And don't do this on your own. Get the support. That's why you're here with NAWBO today. It is really important for you to surround yourself with people that have been there and done it. They've already gone down the path that you're wanting to go through. That makes it so much easier. And, just as a reference, most times what happens is that, you start your day, you've got your to-do list, and you're kind of in your box, whether you go to the office or you're working from home. And if I were to come to your company or one of the mentors on our team, we would probably see, because we're not emotionally connected to it like you are, when we're so close to it, we just don't see the opportunities. But there's probably great, money just sitting right at your feet, potentially hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. If you were to bundle these two revenue streams, add this avatar, there are amazing opportunities there. Now, I want to open this up to questions that you all have, and I hope, has this been resonating with you all? I can't see the chat, so maybe raise up your hand. I can see your faces and let me know that this has been resonating with you. I want to offer you all a gift today, because, NAWBO has been an important part of my life over the years and does such great work. And so I want to give you all a gift. And I know some of you are going off to the event, to the conference. I'm sad that I won't be there this year. But we have a virtual event. We do this one time a year, July 10th through the 12th. And this is an event where we're going to take what I talked about today, but actually build out your step-by-step scale plan for every single area of your company. And so we're going to build out your strategic plan, your cash flow plan, your marketing plan, all of those things. You literally will leave with a step-by-step plan for the next year in every one of these pillars. So it's not just an event where you're just sitting there, sitting back. It's a get to work plan. And we often have many CEOs attend this event each year because it is like their planning event of the entire next 12 months. You'll also get one-on-one time from my team as well. And that's super powerful. You're going to walk away with all of these things: your strategic vision, your blueprint. And the blueprint is, so these are all of our tools we use in the Scale Up method. We're going to give you all of those. This is our gift for you. And basically, your marketing and sales blueprint is from your prospect to lead to customer to repeat customer to referral-based community. So it's building out that entire journey, specifically customed to your business. Your hiring plan, who to hire, where to find them, how to hire them, and figuring out your scalable model. Now, Susie Batiz is going to be just one of the speakers at this event, the founder of Poopery. She has now launched several other companies that go with Poopery. So she is amazing. We have some of the top business experts that are there. Like I said, we're going to give you all these tools. You're going to be with high-level CEOs. You have to be over 1 million to even attend this event. But we have a lot of amazing CEOs. I don't know if any of you know Patty Massey, but she's a longtime WPO and WeBank board member. She was just named number 8 on the 50 fastest women owned by WPO. But Patty came to us 5 years ago at 50 million in revenue. And she was just like what I was telling you, just really stuck in the weeds of her business, even though all intents and purposes, 50 million is doing well. But within 5 years, she's now just did 262 million this last year. But mostly Patty goes on cruises. Every time I reach out to her, she's on a cruise with her grandkids, which is really cool. So this is our gift to you all. If you want to participate, obviously it's your choice. We would love to support you with this. And if you're going to do it, you're going to want to mark off all 3 days. And if you feel like you're too busy, then that's the reason you need to attend, because it's going to help you get your life back. And so today we are offering this. You just go to this link here, and Megan will put the link in the chat, but it's pinnacleceoevent.com/NAWBO. And it's just a deposit to hold your seat, so we know you're coming. And then within 10 days after the event, we will refund you. We will refund you that full $397 once you attend. And if you want to bring a guest, you'll get an email for that, and you can bring a guest for $397. Tickets are going up to $1,000 per person. So this is a great gift and opportunity for you all to scale. And I'm going to just leave you with this. This is something that I always think about when you're looking to make decisions within your business. Make decisions get the vision of what you want to create from here. Pretend you're there already and decide from there the next decision you want to make, the next hire, the next use of your time. Make decisions from where you're going, not from where you're at. Thank you all very much. So I'm going to stop the share, and so I can see you here, and I would love to answer any questions that you all have.
Allison,
Oh, sorry.
great offer. I'm sorry, Julia. Allison, that's a great offer. Thank you. I'm going to make sure that I follow up with everybody on it too. And Julia.
Yeah, I'm so bummed. I'm at a conference that weekend that I already committed to. You only do that once a year? Is that what I heard you say? I was writing it
Once
down.
a year.
Is
Yeah.
it on the same time so I can like put it on my calendar for next year?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know what date we're doing it in 2026 yet. We haven't determined that yet. And we don't record it either, just because it really is the kind of experience of it. So I'm sorry about that. You could always
I'll be on the
cancel
lookout.
that conference and come to this, but I understand.
I know it's a speaking thing, so I can't bow out, unfortunately, but it's awesome. I mean, this was really amazing, really gave me a lot to think about. So thanks.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Kathy?
Yeah, I wanted to tell you, just made something real for me, because I was at the EW conference a while back, and this woman was there. She started her business out of her kitchen while caring for her kids, and she grew it to $1 billion. And when I heard that she grew it to over $1 billion, I thought, all right, my goals have not been high enough. I was not looking at B's. I was always looking at M's and nowhere near enough to make the B. But it was also hard to think about, how do I get from my small M's to a B? So I really like your idea of look at the annual goal and make it monthly. That felt really concrete, like a stepping stone I could, that would make my number bigger without just seeming random. So I just wanted to say, I think that's a great model.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kathy. And, it's so interesting. I think we're just kind of wired to think smaller. It's how our brain is to protect us. And sometimes when we start thinking, oh, $1 billion company or $500 million company, it's just like, oh my God, that feels so scary. Or I'm already so weighed down. How could I manage a company like that? Well, you shouldn't be managing a company like that, right? You want to have those right people on the team that are going to help you get there. And it really is life-changing once you do. I just say never settle. If something feels off, it's off. Most of you, I'm sure, have a really strong gut feeling about things, but we tend to, and I have been guilty of it, but it is something that I tap into more and more and more, is that gut knowing when something feels off. When something feels off with a team member, when something feels off with a customer or an opportunity or whatever, or it feels right, like that is something to really lean in on. But thanks, Kathy, and hopefully you can attend in July, because we'll really be able to build out that full plan, and then you can, hand it to your team to take it and run with it. Who else has questions? I'll pull up the chat here. Rachel, that is awesome. You're all moving in the right direction. Okay. Nita or Nidu.
Neither.
Nidu.
Yes. Hi, Allison. Thank you so much. That was so wonderful. So I just had a quick question on that virtual event in July. Do you happen to know the schedule, and is it like is it blocks of time each day, or is it an all-day event?
Yeah, so what I highly recommend, it's all day. I mean, depending on where you are, if you're East Coast, West Coast, we're starting earlier. We're broadcasting from California, so we're going to start around 7:30 in the morning California time, so that's 10:30 Eastern time, and we're going to go till about, I think, 5:30, something like that. So it goes into the evening for the 3 days, and then so it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're going to end about 4 o'clock. So, and the reason is that we're going to put you in a creative bubble, because we really want to help you have some massive breakthroughs around drivers of growth, your biggest needle movers of your business. And if you're popping in and out, your brain is going to be on task mode and then big vision, task mode. And it's just, you're not going to get the most out of it. And so we even have a lot of people that book a hotel room and just do room service, so they're not distracted and they're really all in for the event. But it really just, from our experience, the clients and the people that attend this event, the business owners, go on to have their best year, because they just have that solid plan. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, no, that's very helpful. I just wanted to make sure before I register that it's fair to take this offer, just because I have to drop off my kids twice during that time frame. So just wanted to check
You
in.
need to go quickly drop off your kids and come back. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will let you take care of your kids, of course. I understand about all of that. But thank you for asking. Paige?
You kind of touched on this. Thank you so much for this presentation. It really inspired me, and I want to keep moving forward towards everything you're talking about.
Oh, thank you.
But one of the questions I have is, one of the things I have trouble pulling away from is being the person who interviews and hires everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of that intuitive sense I have about people, and I just wondered any thoughts about how I can get out of that and find someone who can do it with that same intuitive gift.
Yeah,
Oh.
that is such a great question. And it's interesting because we have 4 new people starting on our team today, and I didn't interview any of them. And I used to. So the key is, and one of the things we're going to really walk you through is building out your leadership team within your company. And when I talk about leadership team, and you won't be doing this all at once, right? This is over a period of time. It may take you a couple years, but having those people, and I look at 4 positions for this. This would be your operations, whether that's a operations director or COO. This would be your marketing director or CMO. This would be your sales director, sales VP, or sales manager, depending on, level of your company, because titles also equate with different salaries. And then whatever your revenue stream is, you would have someone that runs that department. So for us, it would be, we have a mentor director, because mentoring is our offering, right? So, so with those four people, and then you could also maybe, I also have a second in command. But these leaders need to think strategically like you. Now, I know there was a point where I had a COO and I thought he's really good, but he was only really good if I was telling him what to do. Like he could get things done, but he was like an overpaid project manager is really what he was. So these leaders on your team need to be able to cast a vision, just like you. They need to be all in for the vision. And what I mean by that is that they are so dead set on you hitting that number. Like they're going to figure it out without you. And so when you have those types of people that can make decisions, like they can see, they can connect the dots and they can see the holes and they can figure out what needs to be done. They have that figure outable muscle. When you have those kinds of people on the team, then and you're just tracking metrics, like you're going to get, we call them the North Star metrics, and you never really have to jump in those departments. Like I haven't been on a sales team meeting in 2 years, at least. So they will be able to hire. They will be able to do those because they know what's needed. You know, as long as you set the tone. And I know for me on our leadership team, I want people that have already done it. Like I want someone, if we're going to take the company to, 500 million or 200 million or whatever it is, that number, I want someone that's already done it because they've been there. They don't have any mindset issues around that, right? So it depends on what it is you want to create, and everybody has different. There's no wrong. There's no wrong answer on that, but that's the issue, Paige, is that, and I know that feeling. You make so many decisions that by the end of the day, you can't even decide what to have for dinner because your brain is just fried. But that it's like, it's just so fun when you're tapping into the team and they're telling you all these amazing things that the company's doing and that they're creating, and you had nothing to do with it. But it is your vision and it is ultimately your mission. And I love our community, our clients. I'm here with them at the retreat. It's not like I'm not connected. I love the team and so forth. It's just they don't need me, So does that answer your question? That's one of the things that we will do at the event is we're going to actually give you the exact steps on how to build out that leadership team, because that really is a big part of it.
Very helpful. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Is it Tobias? Oh, no, that's
Oh,
not your
I didn't
name.
change my name. Sorry.
That's
Let
okay.
me change mine. This was fantastic. I love that you covered all this because I'll tell you, I'm the successor of our founder. So I was joking. I replaced the control freak, if you will. But one of the cool things that happened during our whole succession plan, which was supposed to be a 7-year plan, is that we ended up accelerating for one reason or another, and the bank didn't let him stay on. And that was actually one of our God-sent gifts because he wouldn't have let us become who we became. And so we grew 4 times after taking over. And I quickly realized that I love what I do, but I don't love running a business. So you touched on so many of the key things that people need for growth, which is that strategic plan and kind of that dedicated leadership. So one of the things that I think is important for all of us is kind of knowing our number too, right? Because maybe we don't need to get it to 100 million in revenue, right? Maybe we don't need to get there, but kind of know what it is we're targeting, right? In order for us to have the financial freedom that we want, right? What target do we need to get to in order to have an exit event, a monetization event that's going to yield what we need? So I do financial planning. And that's something that a lot of business owners don't focus on. And I tell them, like, you need to know what you need to do in your business because I don't do that, right? You need to know what you need to do in your
It's so
business
important
to maximize that multiple. So question, when you do this workshop, do you do like an assessment so people can see kind of where they are today along the multiple spectrum? and then kind of assess what it is they need to work on most? How do you generally assess what their pain point is?
Yeah, so we build out your strategic plan and we dive into each area of the company and we assess every area of where you're at and where you want to go. And that's what's so nice because, you know, we don't normally take the time to do that and really think through. So you're kind of, have you ever had that experience when you're flying in an airplane and you're looking out the window and you're thinking about your life as a whole? And it's kind of like that. You're able to identify when you're up in the clouds, you can go, oh, well, we could just tweak this one thing over here. And that thing usually ends up taking you hours and hours of you like running and gunning it. And so from that bigger picture perspective, it helps you to make those decisions. And also what we want to figure out is what are your biggest needle movers? There's usually one or two, and that's it. We're usually just too diluted and focused on so many areas of the business when a lot of them are really not contributing to a better customer experience or driving growth of the business. But what you said, is it Marianella?
Yes.
That's a beautiful name. What you said is so important. And I'll just touch upon something else about finance, which is really interesting and important. You know, as you scale, you might need to scale your finance team. You might need a completely new finance team. Now, I experienced that myself. Like we had a great CFO, a good accounting team when we were smaller, and they were really great. But then what I didn't realize was that as we scaled up, they didn't have the capability. And so things started really slipping through the cracks. And I could not figure it out. Why were, we were bringing all this money in, what was happening to the profits, and why were all these mistakes happening? And it was, and I kept going to the CFO saying, what, and they were like, no, you got to generate more money. It was just like a ridiculous situation. And so again, tapping into my gut, I just felt like something is not right. And so I ended up letting go of the CFO and the entire accounting team across the board and replaced it with someone that had already, worked with the companies at that much higher level. And within like 4 months, everything righted itself and the CFO said, he didn't have any idea what he was doing.
I'm gonna add to that too, because when we bought the business, I quickly, when I realized I love what I do, but I don't want to run a business. So I brought my husband on, and he was running a $600 million revenue business. Compared to us, we were tiny. So it was that mindset that just like shifted what we were doing. But I think you hit the nail on the head. And he was telling us to do things like, but why are we doing that? We're so small. And he was like, just trust me, we need to get like on this.
Yeah, there's so many creative things that you can do financially. And, yeah, it is. So it just kind of goes along with everything that as you are scaling up, you really want to have those great minds around you. But again, it's not something that you're going to like go build this out overnight. It's a process, but we're going to help you figure that out. Is it, Q3 that you're going to bring on this CMO on Q3 of 2025, and maybe it's Q2 of 2026 that you replace your COO. I mean, it's those things that we want to really plan out. And then that way your company financially can plan for those things too. Great question. Rachel.
Thank you, Allison. Just so helpful, all this information, and really appreciate the offer for the virtual event too. I'll try to keep it quick because I know we're running out of time. For some of the leaders that you hire, and some of my experience, like there's often a desire from folks to have some stake in the company, like or a path to having some ownership. And I was just wondering if that's something that you've come across. If yes, how have you handled it, and whether it's just any kind of high level snippets of advice you have around that.
Yeah, such a great question. And, you know, people have different philosophies around this. So I'll just tell you personally, for me, I do not give equity in the company. I just don't, you know, I've spent a long time building this company, and I want to, at the time that I decide to sell, which is going to be a very long time from now, for me personally, because I absolutely love this and I don't know what I would do with myself. I'd probably just end up launching another business. So I don't give equity, but we do get creative though sometimes, where we want them to have some skin in the game. So we'll say, you know, profit wise, we're here. If you take us to here, whatever metrics they're responsible for, maybe it's retention, maybe it's lifetime value, maybe it's cost of acquisition, and they hit those numbers that we're reaching for, then we give some sort of bonus, or we raise the salary to that point. And so, and then, you know, there are some people with the philosophy of, if people stay within the company. Now, let's say that you're planning to sell, and you know you're going to sell within the next few years. There is a benefit in offering certain key team members to say, you will get X amount of equity at the sale if you stay on, because it's really critical these people do stay on, because it's a big part of the value of the company. So that is something that, you know, is definitely something to consider. But no, I don't give away equity. I've been
That's
asked.
so helpful. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have a question? Well, great. Well, it's really fun being connected with all of you. And again, you should feel really proud of what you've created. It's no easy task out there. You know, I'm glad that you are all, you know, surround yourself with one another. It's very, very valuable. And I'm just honored to be here, and hopefully I'll be able to see you all and connect with you in July.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. And follow-up email and recording coming your way next.
Yeah, Linda, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you.
All right.
Really important.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.